Welcome to the Sports Council.
You just hit your 200th win as head coach at Kamiakin. The 200 balloons are behind you. A pretty big milestone.
What it means is we've had a lot of good basketball players, and we try and put them in positions to be successful. But it goes back to great groups of girls over the years.
The council is now in session.
With a personality shaped by being an athlete and a background in mainstream sports media, I found that the stories I was most interested in telling were the ones often overlooked, the ones that might not otherwise be told, the ones that show the intangible and not just the highlight reel. The Sports Council is about highlighting the great, the good, the unique, and everything in between in the Pacific Northwest sports world. I'm Jamie Council. Thanks for joining me.
You're listening to the Sports Council on 1340 ESPN, the Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Lane Schumacher, varsity girls basketball coach at Kamiakin High School.
And you just hit your 200th win as head coach at Kamiakin. The 200 balloons are behind you. A pretty big milestone.
Yeah, what it means is we've had a lot of good basketball players, and it's great to be a part of it. And we try and put them in positions to be successful, and we've had some success doing that. But it goes back to great groups of girls over the years.
Yeah, no, what year is this for you?
12th year. 12th year, yeah.
12th year, 200 wins. And talk a little bit about your approach. You know, you talk about good players, but that's a culture that good players create more good players, and you kind of create that culture that you've certainly cultivated here at Kamiakin.
Yeah, it also goes back to good parents. Like these girls are good in the classroom. The younger girls in the program from the middle school age start to want to be part of that tradition and work on their game, and that's paid off for Kamiakin in the win-loss column. So it's a great program to be a part of.
You guys have had a great start to the season so far. Tell me a little bit about this year's team.
Obviously, we lost a lot of seniors last year, but we have a lot of underclassmen that played a lot of minutes for us, won a league championship, went to Tacoma, went to the semifinals, and they continued to work on their game. And you'll notice as a team, we're pretty long and linky and athletic, and we shoot the ball pretty well. And we've also been able to do a nice job on defense with the length that we have. So hopefully we'll continue to build on what we've been doing and continue that for the rest of the season and keep getting better.
Sometimes it's really fun conversation to have with high school coaches is, of course, you have a system, but also you have to play to personnel. Where's that line at for you? What's your approach to that?
Been fairly fortunate with the girls that are coming in. We haven't had to modify the system too much. We're really up-tempo. We're going to keep it fairly simple on offense. A lot of pressing and trying to create havoc on the floor with long athletes. And sometimes maybe in a season we won't press as much if we're not being successful. But for the most part, offensively, we continue to run the same type of motion offense and let the girls be successful, read and react what the defense is giving you. So we haven't had to modify it, maybe tweak it some years, but we've been able to stay pretty close to what we've started with our philosophy 12 years ago.
Yeah, and you lost a lot of seniors, but what was the feeling after last year's season ended?
What was what?
What was the feeling after last year's season ended?
Well,
certainly successful.
Yeah, at first when it ends, right, it's just it's a long year and you're tired and exhausted, and then you get home and then you start reflecting on next year right away and start going through the roster and think, wow, this group could still be pretty good. And then you find out in summer ball, when you start playing spring summer ball a couple months later, okay, where are we at? And you start winning some games in that type of environment, and you're like, okay, this team's, there's some potential there, and I think it's going to be exciting to coach them.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about this year's team. You have a lot of familiar faces. Who are the core right now for Kamiakin?
So our leading scorer right now is Nicole Wertenberger, and she had her career night last night against Eastmont and scored 30. She's averaging around probably 21, 22 a game right now, and is shooting like 45% from a three-point line. It's just really
I checked ParkerHodge.com today, and she's leading the MCC in scoring. I think overall it was like 19.56 points per game.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he's put in that 30 points. He might be behind.
Yeah. So she's right there at that 19, 20 points a game, and is our leader. And she's our point guard, and she gets it done on the defensive end and makes great passes. So she's the glue. But then we have Aubrey Heron. We have a bunch of girls that are, I want to say, 10, 9, 8, 9 points a game. And so you look at our scorebook sometimes, and we'll have 5 in double digits. And then you have Amani Smith, who's dominating on the boards. I can't remember the latest stats. I want to say she's close to 100 rebounds on the year, and she's long and lanky and blocks a lot of shots. Liv Whitemarsh has really stepped up her game and is another three-point shooter for us. And Mia Howard's a senior and one of our post players. So it's a nice group that really work well together. They really share the ball, and it's great teamwork, and I think that's also helped us be successful this year.
Two players that I've been excited to kind of see their growth is Amani Smith and Aubrey Heron, because you can't coach that length, you can't coach that athleticness that you see with them.
Yeah, they can do they can cause a lot of disruption on the defensive end. Even when we're in our zone, we put Aubrey at the top of it, and she just gets a lot of deflections or interceptions. If we do get beat, Amani's there to block a shot. And she does a great job of not getting in foul trouble on blocking those shots because her wingspan is so long, both her and Aubrey. So it's fun to have them and watch them disrupt other teams on offense.
Yeah, and you talk about losing players, and you never really replace players. It's just a next man up mentality. And losing Nicole Thomas, you talk about your defensive player of the year for the MCC, now at Memphis. That's hard to replace.
Yeah, that is tough, right? She was our leader for 4 years, and like you said, all defensive first team, all conference, now playing at Memphis. And then Maddie Rendall, our 6-foot shooter. She's down and playing at Idaho State. And so both of those played a lot of minutes for us throughout their years here. Yeah, that's tough to replace. But as you said, the next group of girls are stepping in, and we've been pretty successful so far. So fingers crossed.
Talk a little bit about the culture of parents. I mean, you have Coach Whitemarsh and Nicole Thomas's dad, Nick Thomas, who's still coaching here. So it's kind of cool, the culture that you have, even with the parents or parents of players past.
Yeah, it's been neat. And in fact, parents from that had daughters play years ago still come to the games and are still very supportive. So it's a great culture here, and I know that's not at all schools. Sometimes it can get a little sketchy with some parents, but we've really had really quality parents, and I think that's carries over to their daughters and why they're good in the classroom, good on the floor, and good humans overall. So.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about your coaching philosophy. Hands-on, hands-off. They kind of know what to expect. It kind of seems every time I come here that they know what they're doing, and I guess just what's your approach?
Really, we try and get everything we want to do for the game and take care of that in practice. And in the games, I'm not a yeller or screamer. I pick my moments. Because for the most part, the girls do know what they're doing when they step on the floor. We practice it. We've worked on it. We know the game plan that we're trying to utilize against whatever team we're playing, and they execute it. But if we need to take a timeout and kind of talk about it, then it usually clicks in, and they go back out and and get back on top of things. So, yeah, we try and get most of our preparation done, and in the games, it's let them go a little bit. We don't want them looking over their shoulder every time they make a mistake. They know they made a mistake. And now if it's over and over 4 and 5 times, maybe we'll have to give them a little nudge. But for the most part, we don't want them looking over their shoulder in a game. Just go play. You know what to do.
Year 12, talk about your background. What led you to be coaching here? And you're kind of brave through and through.
Yeah. Graduated from Kamiakin. My dad was my high school basketball coach here at Kamiakin, and then when he retired, became the athletic director. I was coaching the men's at Columbia Basin College, and then was out for a year and got a call if the Kamiakin job was open if I wanted to try coaching girls basketball, and I never had. So I thought about it and thought I'd give it a shot, and here I am 12 years later, still going and still enjoying it. So interesting.
Yeah, it is a conversation we've had prior.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to ask you the same question. Talk about the movement of coaching boys and men to coaching girls. What was the toughest thing? What was the easiest thing? Or just that transition overall? It's a little different.
I wasn't sure. I talked to a lot of coaches, and they said, you can coach them the same way. And I'm not sure I believed that at first, but I'm not doing much different than when I was coaching boys and men's basketball than I was in with the girls, because I'm not a super vocal, loud screamer anyway. And so the differences is, one difference is I noticed guys will get it over with if there's a little tiff. There may be some shoving or pushing in practice, where girls, I've noticed, might let it fester a little bit, and it might be 2 or 3 weeks before maybe there's a disagreement in the locker room or something at halftime or after a practice. So maybe that's the two generalities that I've kind of noticed, and maybe that's not everywhere, but that's been my experience.
Yeah, I think one other thing, I can't remember if it was you, because I remember having a conversation of going coaching men's and boys to coaching girls, but it was that guys have too much confidence and girls don't have enough confidence.
Yeah, I think I did mention that last year.
Okay,
good
I
memory.
thought it was you.
Yeah, where every boy thinks they're going Division I, right, or to the NBA, and girls, at least I've noticed at Kamiakin, don't have that confidence, and so you kind of got to bring it out of them and have faith in them and let them know that, hey, you're a great player, believe in yourself, where a lot of guys all believe they're top notch. Yeah.
Winter break, you guys are practicing New Year's Day. At least it's not wrestling where you can still eat around the holidays, but it's kind of different.
Yeah, well, and I don't think in my 12 years that we've ever played a league game on January 2nd, and I don't think we've usually taken New Year's Day off, but since we have the game on Tuesday, we have to get in here for a couple hours and make sure we're ready to go for the following day.
Yeah, but you guys normally practice throughout the holiday season.
Yeah.
Even today, the doors were locked, players were waiting because there's no school. You
Right.
show up for practice.
Yeah.
And is that what are those conversations like? I don't think a lot of people really realize that, it's a break, but not for athletes.
Yeah, you may get a couple extra days that you wouldn't during the Christmas day off and maybe the day before. But for the most part, all the way through the break, we're in the gym practicing. So it's that's the life of a basketball player and coach. Winter break really isn't a winter break. So.
Coming back to this year's team, great start so far. A lot of players stepping up. What are you guys working on right now? It's kind of that middle to beginning point of the season where you're really finding out what you're made of.
Yeah, I think we're trying to just get better execution-wise, executing what we're doing, not losing our focus or intensity, right? Sometimes if you start off and have a nice record, you can get complacent, and so we want to make sure that we still have that effort and great attitude every time we step on the floor, and that we're just continuing to get better on the defensive end and executing better on offense. So it's just continuing. The old cliche, we want to be playing our best basketball at the end of the season, and so we're trying. I don't think we've hit our ceiling yet, and so we just need to keep working every day in practice and pushing them and making sure they're reaching their potential.
Yeah, and at what point maybe it was in the spring or summer, maybe even this year, where you saw the team and you're like, we're pretty good?
Yeah. It was, like I said, once we started spring, we started going to tournaments, and all through June we're playing and practicing, and starting to watch them, and I'm starting to watch them click and getting used to this group of who our seniors, our varsity team's going to be, and start winning some games of the tournament. You realize, okay, there is some potential here, or the cupboard's not bare, and so far they've shown that to be true.
And 200 wins and counting. By the time this airs, it will probably, it might be more. Do you have a favorite one?
A favorite year?
Yeah, favorite year, favorite win.
Oh gosh, it all kind of runs together. I think the ones that are really fun are when they end it on a trip to Tacoma. That bonding and driving to Tacoma with the team and the atmosphere in the Tacoma Dome, those seasons really are special. They're all special, but those, when you get that extra time with the group of girls and you're playing with the best teams in the state, that's pretty remarkable. And we've been able to do that quite a few years, and those are really, really fun years.
Well, thank you for your time, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Coming up next on the Sports Council, we catch up with the Braves players Nicole Wertenberger and Mia Howard. You're listening to 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports.
Nicole Wertenberger, senior, and point guard, shooting guard.
I'm Kamiakin Howard. I'm a senior and I'm a center.
So year's going pretty good so far. Would you guys say so?
Yeah.
I think we have done a really good job starting with summer ball. We knew that we had to work hard for this year because our conference has a lot of talent this year, and so we really wanted it, especially for our senior year, to go out strong. And so I think that was really important for us and gives us some motivation at practice.
Also, our team is pretty young, so we've been able to build up our chemistry these past couple years, and we've really built that, and that goes on the court and off the court as well too.
Yeah, and let's talk about each of your game. We'll start with you, Mia. I've gotten to watch you guys both the past couple years, and just kind of talk about what you bring to the floor for the Braves.
I think I bring a lot of leadership and communication. I like to bring positivity and energy to our team, and skills-wise, rebounds, boards, and I like to help my teammates get open as well.
Yeah, I love the aggressiveness you bring to the floor in a good way, not overly, although I have seen foul trouble sometimes, but all aggressive players are going to get there. How did that part of your game develop? Sometimes that's tough to teach, that aggressiveness that you need to get those boards.
Honestly, just watching my big sister, I've always watched her since I was young and wanted to play like her. So, and I've also got to play with her too. So just seeing her play, just wanting to play like she plays, brings that aggressiveness.
No better way to bring out aggressiveness than with siblings.
Yeah. Especially being on the court with them too. It just brings out that
sense of aggressiveness, yeah.
Does she still play?
No, she doesn't. Yeah, her last year playing was when I was a freshman year. She was a senior? Yeah. So we got to play with her.
That's awesome. And what about you, Nicole? Talk about your game.
I think going along with Mia, leadership is super important for us, and just bringing a sense of calmness. I try when we kind of are amped up, we just need to understand that we just need to calm down and play our game, and that's what I think. So yeah. And how has this year gone, or just kind of talk about what you knew your role would be? That's something I talked with your coach about, was losing Nicole Thomas and Maddie Rendall. Those are two players that you relied on, but it's high school. It's next man up mentality. Yeah. I think just knowing that we're a super tall team, knowing that I was kind of the only main guard was kind of a little bit nerve-wracking at first, but just all my teammates stepping up to help me out and all of them having confidence in me, I think has really helped as well.
Do you guys kind of have goals that you set, or what's that communication like for motivation with this team?
Yeah.
Before the games, we'll all just come together and speak our own goals, personal goals and our team goals to do. And I think that helps us to like just keep each other, because we know each other's goals, so it helps us be able to like guide each other on the court and everything, and just keep each other's head up.
I agree. Keeping each other accountable is really important in the game, and even if we mess up, we're just like, remember your goal, like you're still going towards that. And obviously like full season goals, like in the future, like our goal is the Tacoma Dome in the end. It's a lot of fun, and that's always what we strive to be at the end. And
So senior year, you guys have a few years under your belt. Do you have a favorite memory?
You can go first.
I would say our state game at Emerald Ridge, we got into the Final Four, and I think that night was just so much fun. We went to Chick-fil-A after and celebrated, and we just all were super happy because obviously it was something we were working towards, and it kind of feels nice when everything kind of ends up like what you were hoping for. Obviously we're wanting more, but I think that was a super fun day.
One of my favorite memories was also from last season when we got to cut down the nets, because it kind of like just showed us how hard we worked and everything, and we got to keep a piece of that as well. And that was one of my favorite memories.
Having an undefeated like conference season was one of like our biggest accomplishments together.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
And let's talk about in the classroom. What's your favorite subject?
I like history.
What, any specific type or just kind of the concept of history?
I don't know. Yeah. Honestly, world history, I think that was my favorite class I've taken so far. Yeah.
For me, I say Spanish. I really enjoy Spanish. I'm in like my 6th year of Spanish, and I hope to like minor in it when I go to college to get that kind of like help in my future. So yeah.
Are you fluent in it?
Yeah, I passed my biliteracy test last year, and then now I'm in AP. So then we take like another test at the end of the year. So hopefully I can pass that too. But yeah.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
What got you into Spanish?
I don't know, my 7th grade year, and I started it while I was in middle school, and I just really enjoyed it, and then I've done it ever since. And yeah, my teachers have been really great, which has also helped. So
Yeah. And senior year, what's next?
I'm not really sure yet. I want to continue my basketball career somewhere, but I just haven't decided that yet. And obviously try to choose somewhere with high academics too as well for my future too.
Yeah, me as well. I've been looking for track and basketball.
Okay.
So I want to continue in track.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been applying.
So track, basketball, and TBD on where. Do you know what you want to major in yet?
I want to major in psychology.
And what do you want to do with that? Do you know?
I want to be a social worker.
Okay.
Able to help
Love that.
people. That's super cool.
Yeah, I'm still not sure yet. I'm still deciding, but.
Okay. And talk about, with you, Nicole, wanting to play basketball and having to kind of sit. I mean, you were a starter, but you know how it goes. You guys had so many weapons, and now this year you're really putting together that tape where you just had 30 points the other night. It's kind of tough playing your role, but that's why Kamiakin has such a good program, is because you know your role. But it's kind of do or die right now of getting that tape out. So it's hard because, of course, you guys are a team players, leadership, one of both of your strengths. But what does that look like from a player perspective of balancing that?
Yeah, I think all 4 of my years I've tried to kind of see like what is my role, like you were saying, and how can I help my team specifically, and whether that's in assists or points or defense also. I think it's just kind of reading that and being able to help in any way that I can for our team is really important.
And with this team, who would you say is the funniest?
I gotta say Mia. Mia is always bringing the energy and jokes.
I think Monty's pretty funny. Yeah. She's kind of like quiet, but she'll say little like comments.
Yeah, it's very like, dry humor, and it's just like she's hilarious.
Like one-liners?
Yes, literally. Yeah.
Who is the smartest?
Probably Nicole.
Or Peyton, too.
Nicole and Peyton. Yeah,
okay.
They have like 6 AP classes.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard.
Oh, let's see. More rapid fire. Who gets in trouble the most?
Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie.
Bonnie, but she's sweet.
She was our little freshie last year, and still's pretty young, but always keeps a good. Yeah.
And who hosts the best team dinners?
I think this year Aubrey.
Yeah, Aubrey's always our go-to house.
And her mom always makes like the best desserts and
Cookies.
stuff, so.
She made us some red velvet cookies, and
Yeah.
we always love those.
So Aubrey's mom, because of the cookies, what is the best thing she makes, or is it just for the cookies?
We had pasta last time.
Yeah.
I feel like we've had like tacos once too, or something like
Yeah,
that.
we did.
Just a good variety, I think.
And how often do you guys do team dinners?
We like to do them like before every game day. So
Yeah.
like the day before.
Yeah. Sometimes if we have like 3 games in 1 week, we just do like 2 team dinners, or sometimes just 1 in a week also. But
Yeah.
I think it's really important for our team chemistry, and this team is super fun and we all get along really well. So I think that can show on the court as well. So.
Yeah, and with team dinners, we get to just see that other side of everybody too, where it's just like we get to mess around and not just be serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all this talk about food is making me hungry. Best of luck this year, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Well, that wrap up this week's show of the Sports Council. Thank you for joining me on 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. A reminder, the Sports Council happens 4 times a month, 11:30 a.m. on Thursdays. But you can listen to this show not just over the airwaves at 11:30 on Thursdays, but also on demand at 1340ESPNradio.com via podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search for the Sports Council, and it's also available via YouTube. So lots of ways to listen to the Sports Council and support our local sports community. You're listening to 1340 ESPN, your Tri-Cities leader in sports. Now we go back to your originally scheduled Seattle sports programming.